straight from the realm of all things gaming. Everything Noob starts now.
Episode 121, Everything Noob Podcast. I'm Vortac, and lately I haven't made a whole lot of YouTube videos, but generally I make videos on the internet of video games. And joining me this evening...
Lito?
Oh.
I'm Lito.
You're not.
No.
Dreadlow. Okay,
It's
you're talking
Dreadlow.
about me. Obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm first. No, I'm just kidding.
You go first.
I'm your neighborhood hitbox streamer who likes to stream Hearthstone. But tonight's going to be a little different. I'm going to be doing some MMOs, just some random MMOs. I got about 3 of them picked out. So yeah.
All in one night.
Right.
That's crazy.
Oh,
Usually people obsess about one.
Yeah, but I'll play a little bit, and then I'll play another one a little bit, and it's just a random night, about an hour each one.
I don't think you know how to play MMOs.
I don't. So that's why I switched to a different one. It looks more interesting.
Clearly, you don't know how to do this digital addiction.
Well, we have the Jemmy and the Dreadlow with us tonight, as always. And we are noobs who apparently can't even get our intro right. We're noobs at everything.
Yes, that's why we're Everything Noob.
Dreadlow's noobs at MMOs, and Jemmy forgets her lines.
No, I don't forget anything because nothing is scripted.
No,
It was,
this whole
though.
podcast is scripted. Don't ruin the illusion.
My script's right here. I've been reading it.
We need to get Jemmy some copy.
Wait. I never got the memo and cover sheet.
Well, Jemmy's going improv tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about a few different things. We have a jam-packed show for you. We're going to talk about the new, recently announced World of Warcraft, I want to say subscription plan, but we'll get to that in a second. And also the net neutrality debates that happened just over the week. And maybe a few more things as well. Later we're going to interview a game developer of an upcoming indie game. So sit tight, lots and lots to do. First... Holy crap. I saw this news, and I had heard that World of Warcraft was considering this for a while, but apparently in, I guess, their next patch, they're going to put in the ability, maybe it's not their next one, but an upcoming one, they're going to put in the ability to buy gold with real money, or you can use that gold, any gold, to buy game time. They're basically taking it and making like an economy system using real money.
Yeah, so what I've been reading is basically what you do is people can go and buy a token from the shop, which I believe is the online shop.
Yes.
Kind of where you get your pets and all that stuff. And then you can take that token and sell it on the auction house for gold. Now, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, that means the gold spammers are going to have some other reason for us to buy gold from them. But at the same time, you think about it, why would somebody go and buy a bunch of gold so that they can buy one of these tokens and they just go online and buy the token?
Now, what is the token worth? Is that what gets you a month of game time?
And that's just it. There's no value yet, kind of. It's up to the players, really, how much gold you want. Now, it's going to be probably really steep at first. People are going to put it for 1 million gold, whatever they're going to do. But eventually, it's all going to kind of level out, and they're hoping this will actually fix the economy a little bit, because there's a lot of gold in there, and this will hopefully kind of spread it out a little bit. I'm not sure how that's going to work. It'll those people who have, I know what you're thinking. Those people who have money are going to buy a bunch of tokens, sell it for gold, and then all those that don't have money are going to use gold to buy the tokens. So it's like, I don't know how that's going to help, but supposedly it will.
I don't see how that will help the economy. In fact, I can see how that now will break the economy. Now, before I realized there was the token thing in attachment to this update, because we were talking about the subscription where you could buy gold, I was like, oh, that'll be great, because I wish that was going to be in 14, which I recently started playing again. They have a huge economy problem. And I was like, that'll take a lot of the excess gold out of circulation. And so you have like the people who are just hoarding, and that just drives the inflation through the roof. So unless you're like have been playing since the beginning, you probably don't have any money, can't afford anything, and it's almost impossible to catch up gold wise. and that'll get like the top end getting that gold out of circulation. But why allow to buy? Because that just would break it, in my opinion, or defeat the purpose.
Yeah, I think because if you think about it, you got people that are hoarding gold in World of Warcraft. I mean, I got friends that got thousands and thousands, and when I'm saying thousands, they got millions. Of gold, and nothing to spend it on. I mean, they got all the pets, they got everything you can get, right? They got all this gold. So what do they do with it? Well, they've been paying a subscription for I don't know how long. So hey, I can just go to the auction house, buy a token with the gold, and then I will be able to pay my subscription rate. At the same time, the person who's selling the token doesn't have any gold or doesn't have a whole lot and would like to have gold so that they can buy those pets and things like that. So they go and buy a token off of the shop on Blizzard, and then they go and sell it in the auction house. Now what's happening is all those people with all this gold are using it to buy their subscription. At the same time, the people who don't have gold are getting gold. So it's kind of spreading it a little bit more even. In a sense. And then there are those that don't have money or gold. Yeah, there's people that don't have money or gold. So what's going to happen is those people are just going to grind for gold so that they can buy the tokens themselves. And so I don't know. I see how that will level out, and it's not going to really help the economy like take gold out of the system, but it's got definitely level it out a little bit.
Well, here's the thing, though. The people that don't hoard, they tend to actually spend their gold, and they tend to spend it on disposables and things like that. And they are probably also likely not to spend it on the AH as well. So they'll spend it on things that take it out of circulation permanently. Or
like friends I know, they just give gold away because they got so much of it. So now they won't give it away as much. Now what they'll do is they'll kind of hold it back because they can pay for their subscription. And so that'll keep, It'll just, I don't know. It seems like it might help out a little bit. So what will happen is the prices of things in shop might fluctuate to a point where things might be a little bit more affordable now, because now gold is much more valuable. So people aren't going to spend that much gold in the auction house for, say, like a piece of armor. So that person's going to have to lower their price in the auction house in order to, or for the bidding purposes, it'll be a little bit lower, because everybody's going to be hanging on to that gold for their subscription. So now we'll be able to, so some of us don't have a whole lot of gold, we'll be able to get that tiered whatever, armor set or whatever for cheaper. So that's what they're hoping we'll do. It'll also get rid of the gold spammers. I was thinking it might cause gold spammers, but then I thought, why would somebody buy gold from some odd website when they could just go to blizzard.net or Blizzard, whatever it is, Blizzard.net, or Battle.net, go there, buy the token, and put it in the auction house and sell it, or bid it off and see how much it'll go for, and then get gold in game. They don't have to buy gold from a gold spammer now.
Here's the problem, though. When you have the people who are hoarding gold in the game also have the real money to drop on this, and the people who hoard money in game, they tend to, part of their fun of the game is they have tons of money. So what they like to do is they like to play the market board. So they'll buy up all the stock, and then they'll set it at a ridiculous price.
I've seen that.
A lot of people do that, and that's how they make a lot of money too. So I see this as kind of a problem, though. And I mean, and like in theory, this is great, but in actuality, I see this as a huge problem.
I'm worried that we're giving players the power to set the subscription rate. And ultimately,
not really. Blizzard gets their money because when you buy a token, you pay full price for it.
But the tokens circulating the auction house. I mean, if let's pretend one token equals a month of subscription time, wouldn't it be easy to take the value of tokens and completely crash those to the ground, and suddenly all these people get, subscription time?
Well, here's one thing:
5 pieces of gold.
Token can only be sold once. According to the article, it can only be sold once. So in other words, once you buy it from the shop, you sell it in an auction house, it cannot be resold.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
So that's another thing that keeps, it keeps.
I applaud that right there.
Yeah.
Can't play
the market. It cannot be resold, because otherwise, oh my God, could you imagine? Somebody buys it for 100,000 gold and then resells it for 200,000 gold, because that would just be a cluster. Yeah.
Do you think though that now that, in a way, I mean, we always bitch about pay-to-win games. Do you think now, in a way, World of Warcraft has made this a pay-to-win system? And if so, do you think that it would have just been better to allow people to just buy game time with gold and call it a day?
Then you got gold spammers. That's
well,
that's where the gold spammers will come in.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to get rid of real-world trading, so that's a stupid part of it. But I mean, are we creating a pay-to-win game now, or maybe it's always been a pay-to-win game because of the gold? I
don't think so, because you can't buy weapons or anything like that.
But you can, kind of but it's going to be bottom of the line.
It's going to be easier, I think, for us to go to the auction house and buy something that used to be expensive in gold. Now it's going to be a lot less because of the fact that people are, like I said, are going to be hanging on to their gold, and gold will be a little bit more valuable to them. So that would cause people not to buy at those prices. So that will cause the person who is selling it on the auction house to lower their prices. You know what I mean?
Well, you have all this gold that people can just buy, though. So I don't think the prices of the market are really going to change on anything.
I think over time it will. It might not right away. We'll see what happens. But I think over time, like a few months or so, once this thing starts to kick in, I think people are going to realize the value of gold, and they're not going to go out and just frivolously buy something that's 100,000 gold on the on the auction house because it's there and they have the gold and they don't care anyway. Now it's going to be a little bit more.
That's a casual mentality, though, to MMOs.
It really is. I mean,
it is.
People are like that. Some people have so much gold they don't really care.
Well, yeah, but those aren't the casuals either.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm hoping
the casuals aren't the one crashing the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But true. Yeah. So anyway.
I'm just seeing a whole bunch of people buying tokens, selling them, for however much they're worth. Now they're flush with gold, and they go out and buy a bunch of gear because they pay real money to get that gear. But the thing is, I guess some of the best gear in WoW ends up becoming married to as soon as you equip it, and you know.
Well, I mean,
so
some of
it's just going to be people. I don't know. I haven't played WoW, so I'm getting lost in my own thoughts here.
Yeah, but you got to realize that some of it you earn in raids and things like that. You can't sell those on the auction house because they're bound to you or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So there's not a whole lot that you can. I mean, if you want to, if it's pay to win, then yeah. If they were to buy that really high tier gear that you can only get when you go through a raid, and you're able to sell that on an auction house, then it's pay to win at that point. But we're talking about gear you can already buy in the in-game stores from the in-game merchants. And they'll buy it, and even some of those you can't, once you buy it or once you bind it to yourself, that's it. You can't do anything with it anymore. So
all that this is going to do is bring newer players and fresh cap levels up to speed with everybody else who's already raiding.
And see, that's what they've been trying to do with everything. Every time a new expansion comes out, it's like, oh, you can buy now. It's like you can buy this character boost to 90, and it gets more people in the raids faster. So you're right. That's probably.
But they're not in the raids because a lot of times there's gear limits and stuff like that, and gear elitist, and they're like, no, your gear is not good enough. And I'm like, but I can't get the gear if I can't go on raids because nobody does the old content, which is like the gear bridge gap.
Okay. So
I can't farm gold, so I can't even buy the old gear to get in the new raids. You're always perpetually way behind.
Yeah.
No, and some of it is also buying materials too to craft some of those things. So you can use the gold to buy those materials off the auction house and then craft your own. But then again, you're using abilities that some wannabe floats in on the game trying to earn some gold isn't going to be able to do because they have to skill that craft up. They still have to play the game.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it, I mean, that's what it boils down to. You still have to play the game. So the craftable is not as good as some of the stuff that you would actually get rewarded with in raids and dungeons. So it's iffy. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping this helps in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've played WoW. Now, I was talking a lot I feel like not that long ago. Because the expansion was about to release and everyone was getting back into it because they changed a whole bunch of stuff and it was I was seeing gold spammers everywhere, and that makes me think that the game, in a way, has been pay to win for quite some time. If we're saying that pay to win equals getting gold and just buying whatever gear you can get your hands on, if that equals pay to win, that's been around because people, it hasn't stopped them from going and using these gold farmers. You know?
Right, right.
I don't want to because I don't trust them, frankly, and also I'm already paying enough for this game. I don't want to buy gold in it too. So there will be more of that going on now that it's going to be direct from Blizzard. So I guess we'll see. I don't think, I guess in terms of rating, it wouldn't matter. Everyone's kind of on a team at that point. PvP though, I don't know. I don't know how that works because I never PvP.
Oh, you're right. WoW's got a huge PvP like following. I wonder how that would affect that.
I never PvP,
yeah,
so I don't know how
what
the
you
PvP
do,
gear works.
It works like this. You go into PvP arenas, you get tokens, and these tokens are used to buy your tier gear from your PvP merchant. And that's how that works. So there's steps involved. It's not just it's not just using gold and going and buying something. You have to
No,
earn,
I think it's a PvP token.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a PvP specific token. So you still have to in other words, that's why I think it's different than a pay to win, because you still have to play the game to get those tokens, to be able to convert those tokens into your gear that you want. So you can't buy tokens off of the auction house. So you still have to, you know what I mean? They've kind of eliminated that. I mean, could you imagine if everything was bought by gold? Then I can see there would be a problem. But because of the fact that certain aspects of the game takes a certain type of money, you know, that you can't get anywhere else but by playing certain things in the game, there's no way. I mean, like I think the article even mentioned that gold sometimes has almost become obsolete, other than the fact that you can buy materials to craft things. You can, you know, buy certain things, or you know, what do they call that when you get your new character? And I've done this before, where I've made a new character and then I given them 10 gold, and I twinked them out. That's what they call twinking. And I twinked them out and gave them the best gear you could possibly get right from the start, you know, that you could get for that level. And it's nothing. It's just crap stuff that you buy off a merchant, but it's stuff that you can get you started. But other than that, there's really not much you can do with gold.
It sounds like because
and you play out the auction house, obviously.
Every concern I have, Dreadlow has an answer for, our resident WoW guy. And that just makes me feel like WoW has been planning this for a while, because I mean, you have the PvP tokens, which are exclusively used for buying gear, and you know the auction house is. I lost my train of thought, but my point is, I think Blizzard's been planning this for a while. I think we're seeing finally they implement this, and it's going to hopefully A, eliminate gold farmers, and B, balance out the economy, or who knows, just make them a whole bunch of more money because people are going to spend their real money on tokens.
Well, there's one thing to say that was mentioned in one of the comments, that EVE Online already does this and has been doing this since 2007, and it's really leveled out their economy and helped them out a lot. Got rid of some of the gold spammers too, because there's no reason.
Gold spammers are part of the inflation process.
They're the lifeblood of all MMOs.
Well, they steal accounts too. I mean, if you you know, you ever get an email and it says click here because you've been banned, please reply, and then you click there to sign in.
Ever click there.
It's a fake website. They steal your account and steal all your gold. You log on and you have nothing left. You have no armor. You're completely naked.
I don't know if I told this story on the podcast or not, but I was playing RuneScape with a buddy of mine back when just him and I were just addicted to it forever. And we were playing one time, and he had been doing some like YouTube videos on RuneScape. He was good at the game. He could get a ton of gold, and he started throwing like house parties, which got him like really popular around his server. Everyone was like, "Oh, hey, it's you. How's it going?" Because they all came to his house parties. And house parties were good for like using things in your house that you need an open house to use. I can't explain it if you've never played RuneScape, but there's these altars that you level prayer with, and you can only use the best ones in people's houses. So people would leave their houses open for people to come and use their altar. Well, this guy would leave his house open using like an auto clicker, just clicking his inventory so he doesn't log out automatically. And he would just leave his house open for hours on end. Like we're talking 12-hour time spans. So he became really well known for doing that. Anyway, it wasn't uncommon for people to come up and recognize him. One guy comes up to both of us once and says, "Hey, I saw you on RuneScape Tube." And he's like, "What?" And they post a link, and both our dumbasses click on it.
Oh, no.
It's a keylogger. And we start to like, this guy's asking some weird questions. I don't really remember it too well, but I know that we caught on to it pretty quick. We're like, we're idiots. We just clicked a keylogger. And we don't log out of the game. We call, he has a tech buddy. He's like, you need to download this program. It'll get rid of the keylogger. And I had to actually like go to my house, because I was at his house at the time, go to my house, log into both our accounts on my computer, and that way we can log off on our other computers. And then we scanned them and stuff and got the, of course, keylogger was there. We got rid of it and everything else. But it was like, I was glad we caught it, because we almost got our account stolen. And perhaps other things, depending on how we used our passwords. So, anyway, that's my long, drawn-out story for saying, I almost got a keylogger.
Well, and that's what they do, you know, so I don't know. I'm hoping this is a pretty good change, good thing happening with WoW. We'll see what happens. It'll be beneficial for me because I do have a character. He doesn't have a whole lot of gold, but he's got gold to play with, and you know, I could use that to possibly buy a token to get a month.
Yeah. I hope it does well for them. I mean, with EVE Online doing it for so long, and WoW is just pretty old now. I think WoW is so old that it can get away with trying whatever it wants, and even if it fails, people will still play it, and they could just like go backpedal and take it away, or they could just keep improving on it, and people will be like, "Oh, screw you, WoW," but then they'll still play because there's, you know, it's their game.
You can also think about this. If you don't have time to play, but you're in there and you're playing now, and you think, I can go buy a token, sell in an auction house, get a bunch of gold, so that the next time I want to come on and play, I can go and rebuy a token so that I can get basically a free month, or not really a free month, but I mean, you can stash your monthly payment or whatever.
Oh.
You can guarantee a monthly payment.
I just thought of something, though. This doesn't really work well for people who don't keep active subscriptions, though. Because if like your subscription has, well, no, wait, you can log in for free now, can't you? You just don't have access to a lot of stuff.
I think you can play up until level 20, but I don't know about logging in for free. I haven't tried.
Or you can't use the auction house. You can't do trading. You can't even
so if you had a token in your inventory, though,
you would have to. I think you could use the token.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yourself.
Like, you couldn't buy a token when your subscription subsided. So if you're an on and off player, this wouldn't work out well for you unless you planned ahead. But if you had a token just sitting in your inventory, it's like, okay, now I can access everything. Boo-doo! Magic spell of token.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I guess. I'm not sure.
They'll make the tokens craftable. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. That would be
really
great.
That's what I thought when you said magic spell of token. I'm like, they should make the tokens craftable. That's a great idea.
They should make the tokens craftable, but you have to like buy the skill to craft it or some crap like that, and it only is active if your subscription is active, or I don't know how that would work.
No,
you'd have to. Yeah,
it's a terrible idea no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that just would be terrible, honestly.
Well, one of the other big news stories that happened over the week, net neutrality, big step in net neutrality. Now, I don't want to sit here forever giving a lesson on what net neutrality is, but basically the net is neutral and, at least for a little while longer, shall remain neutral. And that means, let's say you have the best description I ever saw of net neutrality was just like the cable providers say, hey, if you want these channels, you need to pay us more money. But with the base package, you get these channels. People's biggest fear is that internet providers will be like, hey, if you want things like Google and YouTube, you need to pay us for that package. And that's only one example of what this can mean. There's a billion other things that could happen and go wrong.
And also, like, on the other side, too. So say like
Netflix.
Comcast.
Yeah.
I'm using Comcast. I hope, they don't sue us. But
They got better.
say like
Why couldn't you
Comcast-
use generic internet provider?
Well, like Netflix wants to be on the Comcast network, so they can push Netflix to the customers of Comcast. So Comcast says, okay, well, Netflix, we'll let you do that, but you got to pay us this amount of money. And once you pay us this amount of money, then we'll allow it. Otherwise, it's going to be blocked. It won't be blocked, like completely blocked. It'll just choke it. So in other words, when you go, they had an example of somebody showing a little spinning thing like you get when your YouTube channel's buffering or something. That little spinning wheel. And they showed this is what will happen if net neutrality rules weren't were not enforced. This is what would happen. And that would be kind of scary. I mean, then they turn around, they say, look, if you want Netflix, you have to pay us at the same time. Like you said, it'll be a package you buy from your internet service provider to have Netflix. So they're going to win both ways. They're going to get money from Netflix. We're going to get money from you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous is what it is. And people have been fighting a long time and really hard to make sure that the net remains neutral. So it was a really big first step. Jemmy, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Because I know you've been following it a lot better than I have. I did watch C-SPAN, though. You got to give me credit there.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything else really to say that, we haven't just kind of blurbed right now. I mean, it wins. It hasn't been tested in court. So eventually, corporations are going to push for that because we love a government that lets our corporations do whatever they want to do. So I would say in the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to see this come up to a court case. Mm-hmm. Because right now it's one of the FCC rules. I haven't looked at the article today, but it's the best protection we can have right now, and it's kind of using a little bit of a generous way to put this is a loophole because the verbiage in the rule is so generic that we can slide it in there as telecommunications.
Yeah,
so
they're using an old rule.
Yeah.
For the internet, but eventually they'll probably come up with their own rules. But for right now, they're using an old one.
They need to update that rule.
For the electricity, the gas, those companies.
Telephone.
Yeah, the telephone. So they're using those rules, but not all of them. Only the rule that says you cannot dictate, how much or who or what uses your network. So they kind of open the highways a little bit for everybody. So it's all equal.
And then there are the naysayers who are like, "Oh, great! Now the government actually controls our internet instead of corporations." And I'm like, no. The government is in charge of checking and leering over the shoulders of the gatekeepers of the internet. They can't tell them. All they can do is tell them that they can't block access to anything. They can't they can't force or unforce your ability to get the internet.
Or they can't change prices or anything like that. At least not for right now. But for instance, with electricity, if it wasn't for, those rules in place, I mean, especially in rural areas or where there's not a whole lot of, there's only one electric company and it's they can't gouge their people and say, okay, we're going to charge, $100 a kilowatt.
Insane rates.
Yeah, because you can't get anywhere else. What are you going to do? So the FCC protects us from stuff like that. But one of the things I was wondering is how does this affect gamers? And I was sitting there, I was trying to think about it, and I thought about it affects us a lot in a lot of ways. I mean, now it won't affect us. It's going to be just like it usually is. It's not really going to do much to change anything. But if it didn't pass, if these rules didn't take effect, what happens with Twitch and Hitbox? What happens with your connection to
Just logging
Xbox
onto WoW.
or just logging onto WoW or whatever? Does that mean Blizzard has to pay my internet service provider to allow us to play World of Warcraft? You know, I mean, what's going to happen? Because, you know, I mean, playing video games is going to take up some bandwidth as well. I'm sure that it's not the same as streaming, but what about streaming? That means I can't go on Twitch and watch my favorite streamer play his video games?
You know? A great example of that relates and that you can actually like experience right now. My least favorite thing about Netflix, for example, is the fact that there is exclusivity contracts on everything. So you'd have to get like Netflix and Amazon Prime to see like everything, or, you know, you have to get multiple services because there's exclusivity contracts and everyone, you know, wants to be in one place. It'll be the same exact thing if there was
service
neutrality.
Services,
yeah, with those kind of services. So certain ISPs might say, okay, we can definitely afford to have Blizzard servers, you know, and access to them. Other ISPs, yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just thinking of, we're not going to sign with Google. It's just Bing.
Oh God, yeah, that's the ISP, the idiot one.
Oh, would
Bing's
that be
awesome,
crazy,
right, guys?
Well, you'd still have access
Bing
to
on.
it. It would be slow as snail snot, you know. You would, you know, I mean, if it was to go that far, I mean, right now we're just talking about streaming, but I mean, if it was to go that far, what if Comcast signs a contract with Microsoft, and Microsoft says, well, you know, and they sign a contract saying, you know, allow anything from Bing, anything from Microsoft to come through at full speed, but anything from Google is slowed to close to a halt, you know, and they could do that if these rules weren't in place.
Yeah, it's great that we took a big first step, and I almost fell asleep watching C-SPAN, but I had to. Like, everyone on Twitter at the time was like, oh, you can watch this live. I'm like, oh, cool. And I go, and I'm like, oh, it's C-SPAN. That's right. That's where this would be, huh? And so we're watching it. It took hours for them. And what really annoyed me about it was that all these people came prepared with a speech. It was just political theater. Like, they were literally just reading off of a speech, and they're not really presenting any arguments. Everyone already has made up their mind about how they're going to vote on it and all this stuff. So it was boring. It was just super, super boring. But it was cool to watch it live and try to like gain more of a political understanding about it, because I don't ever do that. I'm not a very big politics guy, but this kind of affects me. So yeah, I'm happy. I mean, now these companies are gearing up with lawyers and things like that to try and fight it in court. It's unconstitutional, but you know, here we are. We at least for maybe the next few years don't have to hear about net neutrality.
Right.
No. We're still going to hear about it because businesses are going to start stirring and spending money to get this to change. So it's going to be just, again,
it's
rally your congressman, because we need this not to go through.
Yeah, it should definitely stay fresh in our minds, but it was getting down to the wire there, and there was a lot of pressure. Like, I just saw a lot of tweets and a lot of like stories, like articles, just pressuring people. You have to do something. We're getting close to that time where they're going to vote on this, and we don't want to be screwed. So yeah. I'm really, it was good news.
I have to say this though, a lot of these big companies did promise before these rules were put into effect, did promise that they would never do that to any of their customers or any of the other companies that want to have their stuff. Of course, they would never ever, you know, do that to everybody. But come on, it's only obvious because from what I understand, one of the big companies actually did something similar to it with something else. I'm not sure what it is, but
Comcast has been notorious for like being selective on their bandwidth, and like there's a few other ISPs too that I could name off that are pretty you know, they don't really want to offer streaming, or they don't like you doing this or that. Yeah, they'll purposely bottleneck you.
How about upgrading our systems so that it doesn't matter? I mean, there's bandwidth for everybody. You know, make them much more stronger. Maybe, you know, I mean,
that implies,
let's put the money into that instead of, you know, trying to trying to gouge people out of.
No. But that thought process subscribes to a utopian everything should be shared and free when it comes to knowledge and information and communication. And while beautiful and that's the way the world should be, we have greed and people who are like everything should have a dollar value to it and it should be like based on volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just how everything in our world works, which I mean can be fine and great if done right, but this is an example of companies getting too greedy, and I'm just glad that enough people are fighting against it to affect change, because I mean the people they had speaking at like on C-SPAN to the FCC, one of them was the person who created the show The Killing. And it was a show that was on, I think, what did they say, AMC or something? It was some cable network, and it got pulled twice. Like, the show got pulled, and finally Netflix picked it up so they could finish out their show. And they were just saying how grateful they were for Netflix to have given them an opportunity. And another one was the guy from Etsy, the guy who created Etsy. And it's that one where you can, like, craft things and sell products like that. And people use that, and that's like a business for them. They create things and sell them, and that becomes their livelihood,
right?
And so when you have that threatened, those people are obviously going to stand up, and just like any big YouTubers we know whose livelihood is to make gaming content, what would happen to them if all of a sudden like a giant portion of their viewers were unable to view their content because they couldn't afford the package that included YouTube, for example? Again, worst case scenario stuff, but that's what it could build to. I mean, these companies, like Dreadless said, are promising that'll never happen, but that's why they want it. They want to slowly build it to that point. Before we know it, that first one decides to have internet packages, and bam, everything goes to hell in a handbasket.
Well, first it'll be like just like the speed packages. Like everyone will have access to everything, but it's like, oh, is it running just a little too slow to you, or do you want a little more upload rate because your son likes to stream to Twitch or something like that? Well, here's a little package deal for you. And if it's a cable company, it'll be a bundle with like their other services and stuff like that. So they'll just ease it in. Like it'll be like almost what it is now. And then they'll just like, oh, well, you know what? Streaming is a lot of bandwidth, and bandwidth is expensive. So now if you really want streaming, you have to get our top tier package.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like, and that would be like streaming in the way of like all the big like websites, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, and like YouTube. If you want to stream from those websites, because those are a lot of heavy traffic.
I wondered, like I was thinking about what if net neutrality suffered a blow, and what if companies started doing that? Like let's say 10 years from now, like after we lose the net neutrality fight, I'm just saying like if the other day let's say we just lost completely, hypothetically.
Yeah.
I don't know, part of me believes a company would come around and try to rebuild the internet in the sense of like create one massive ISP that doesn't subscribe to any of that garbage. And I think if that were to happen, it would be Google, because they're already going with the fiber optic. Yeah, they have fiber optic networks everywhere, and I'm starting to see that maybe Google would come in and go like, you should just get our service because we hate all this garbage. We're just gonna give you this, and it's gonna be like the internet, except awesome.
And that's the thing. I think if something like that were to happen, there has to be some kind of competitors out there that will kind of eliminate some of that. So, like Google will definitely be a big time competitor that would obviously give a little bit more freedoms to people on the internet, as well as Netflix and companies like that.
Yeah, and
that will cause companies to kind of like. It's kind of like with the cell phones. I mean, we can get a cell phone now prepaid, $40 a month with, 5 gigabytes of cap for our data, and or you can go to AT&T and spend hundreds of dollars a month for a contracted phone, that has a contract and all that stuff. And so it's causing these these companies like AT&T and places like that to kind of lower their prices and possibly even offer their own, unlimited plans.
Oh,
And so I noticed that a lot.
That competition is what we're seeing when Google Fiber rolls into any neighborhood. All of a sudden, everyone else's ISP becomes awesome because they don't want you to switch to Google Fiber when you get the option. So suddenly your internet is super fast and reliable and amazing and works how it should, if not better. And that's just, we're already seeing that. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think if it wasn't Google, I think someone else would finally just get fed up and make internet too. and
start over.
Yeah, kind of like XM Radio was like, hey, you don't like commercials, right? Here, pay us some money every month, and you can listen to all the radio you want without commercials. It's like they created Radio 2.0. It's a bad comparison, but you kind of see what I'm saying, right?
Internet without pop-up ads.
Oh, yeah.
That would just...
It's kind of like operating system, like Linux, It's that type of thing where somebody says, well, you're going to charge for operating? That's okay. We're going to create our own. And so,
well,
you got...
Before we get too late into the show here, I teased that we had an interview with a game developer. And I had actually just got off the phone with them before we started recording the show. We recorded an interview with them, and it was awesome. The game we're talking about... Well, I won't spoil it for you. I'm going to play the interview now. And when it is over, we will come back and discuss. So let me just go ahead and hit the play button on that right now.
Awesome games you've probably never heard of. It's time for the Indie Spotlight.
Sitting on the phone with us tonight, Ms. Hillary Craven, the founder and lead game designer behind Solar Crusaders. Hillary, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hello, happy to be here.
Awesome. So you are, as I said, the lead game designer behind Solar Crusaders. I found this game just searching online one day, and I had to know more. I had to get a hold of you because this looks like my kind of game. I've been looking for a game like this for quite some time, and I'm really excited. I registered for your pre-alpha instantly, and I just had to get in touch. But for those who don't know, what kind of game is Solar Crusaders? What genre would you consider it?
So Solar Crusaders is really interesting because it doesn't quite fit in any type of genre. So it's a sandbox game, and it's like several games meet other games, and then there's kind of a board game aspect to it. So we're trying not to really pin ourselves with one genre yet.
I think that's a wise move because you have a very open-ended game here. This looks amazing. I'm looking at it, and I see FTL right out of the gate. That was my first thought when I saw this game. Was that one of the inspirations?
So yes, actually originally the inspiration was a board game called Battle Station, which I actually believe FTL got its inspiration from.
Okay.
And that's how I was playing that game with Ollie, the main programmer, and we were talking about the game and how fun it would be if it was an actual video game, and he had mentioned, oh, there is a game called FTL, and so that's when we started talking about, well, wouldn't it be fun if you could play with friends, and that's where everything developed.
Wow, that's awesome. I've never even heard of that game. I might have to pick that up. So
it's really complicated. It's really fun, but it's pretty complicated.
Is it like Risk complicated or Monopoly complicated? I guess those would kind of be in the same field.
I would say more Risk complicated, but also just complicated with like rules, and it's one of those games that has like lots of pieces, and I feel like I'm going to lose half the pieces pretty soon.
Especially now that you're designing a game based on it. They're probably everywhere right now. So tell us about the team working on Solar Crusaders. How many people are you?
So basically, it's a big group of friends, and mainly it's Ollie and I, and we are the co-founders. And he does the programming aspect, and I handle basically everything else, which includes game design and kind of art management. And then the rest of the team, we have like, let's say 6 other people, and how much they kind of contribute is based off of their availability. So we have some great artists that are working with us. We have some friends helping us in terms of managing like the community, and kind of will be a large part in marketing when we move forward into that stage.
Okay. Awesome. So, how long have you all been in development then?
So we've been in development. So we've been talking about it for a year, and then we've been in development, I would say, for seriously like 6 months.
Well, it seems like you're plugging away just based on the screenshots and some of the UI that you guys have released so far on your blog there. So
yeah, we're moving really fast, which is, I feel like, refreshing for video games, because I feel as though, like, I've funded other games on Kickstarter, and I feel like you pay money and then you see something in maybe like 3 years. Sometimes it takes so long, and by then I've kind of already forgotten about it and I've moved on to other cool things. So that's something that we want to avoid. We're targeting currently for a December release, and once we get closer, we'll know how realistic that is. But that's where we're currently targeting.
okay. That's good to know, because I've been the same way. I've backed a few games on Kickstarter now. One that comes to mind, I won't call them out, but it's been pretty disappointing because I did kickstart it. I've been waiting, and we're still in alpha with that game. They're updating it, but yeah, it's definitely still in alpha. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't like go knocking on the developer's door and go, "Hey, let's hurry it up," because you can't rush art like that. But it definitely. It is refreshing to see a time frame like that and everything coming together so swell. So that's awesome.
And we're very happy with the development so far, and things have been moving pretty fast, which is great.
Awesome. Well, that's good. I was actually going to touch on that here in a little bit, because one of the things I wanted to ask was the pre-alpha. You have people registering now. When do you think that'll be available for people to start testing?
So we've been debating that. So we keep on moving that around. We haven't quite settled on a date yet.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to start laying down maybe dates just yet. If that's what gets you into trouble. So
we were about to, and then Ollie was like, let's just give me another month, and then I can estimate a date.
Yeah, good call. Definitely. Some of the features that are right there on the front page of the website include multiplayer, also, along with the sandbox and the economy. How is the multiplayer going to work in Solar Crusaders?
So one way to kind of re-envision the game is if you were to think of Eve in terms of the multiplayer aspect, but then the battle will be like FTL, and the kind of station management will be almost like Civilization. And then there's going to be a whole other aspect with missions and like quests that you can go on. Okay.
So it's not really like, you're not going to see like a giant server with a whole bunch of people on it. It's not really an MMO.
Yeah, so we're not too sure how that's going to work out, but we think we're going to set it up like an MMO, but realistically, the game will be really fun even if you're just playing by yourself, or you can try to take the more EVE aspect and get people together for like group battles and big attacks.
Okay. Wow. So it could definitely be open to the possibility of an MMO if it plays itself there.
Yeah, so exactly. We'll see what the community wants, and if everyone's just doing their own missions on their own stuff, that's how they want to play.
Okay. As far as the economy goes, what's that going to be like? Or how do you earn money, and will players be encouraged to trade with one another?
Yes, so you will be trading with each other, and then the economy is player-based, but there will be NPCs that partake in the economy. And ways you can earn money is through mining and creating items, and then there's also the aspect of accomplishing missions, salvaging, resources and parts of other exploded ships, and then also just pirating. If you want to go around and rob people or however you want to play, that's up to you, and you can get money kind of through all those different aspects.
Okay, so the economy system in a multiplayer environment, that can usually, especially for MMOs, go one of two ways. Usually what ends up happening is players end up setting the cost of items. And is it going to be like that, where players kind of control the economy in that way, or will it be mostly controlled by the NPCs and the computer?
So we were actually thinking it would be controlled by the players, but for example, one way I envisioned it is that you can go to certain stations that a computer's running, and you can get, like, there's basically a basic price, right?
Yeah.
For a certain item. But then if you're selling an item, like you've mined a certain item off of a planet, you can choose whatever you want to sell it for. I mean, if you're way further away from the main station, then you can sell it for way higher, or you can try to pull kind of customers from the main station by putting it lower. So that aspect is solely player-based.
That's awesome. This is going to be crazy once this comes out.
It's going to be awesome.
So you're looking at December. Now, you said December for a full release, or is that when beta begins, or?
So we'll determine that when we get closer. We're basically thinking that beta will begin before that. We're not too sure how far before that, and then we'll have kind of a soft release in December.
Okay, awesome. One thing I was curious about: are you going to be looking into Steam's early access as you start to get closer to December?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
And that's
we're
probably
going to look at Steam Greenlight pretty soon.
Okay. Yes, and definitely if you do that, we will be providing any links that people need to get this greenlit as soon as possible. So that's really awesome. Is there anything else you can tell us about the game that I may have missed here?
Well, basically we just wanted to add that this is a game that the whole team is really excited to play, and that's why we're creating it. And then we also just love community input, so any ideas people have, and people have been pretty vocal through Twitter, and that's been a great source of kind of feeling what the community wants. And that's been really great when kind of deciding what direction to go with certain aspects.
Awesome. Well, I for one am very excited. There's so much more to learn about this game, and I'm just overwhelmed. So if you want to know more, I highly recommend visiting the website. It's blog.solarcrusaders.com, correct?
Yep.
And the entire team is on there. You can contact anyone via Twitter or other forms of contact info that are posted. You can check out some of the gameplay aspects, the screenshots, the artwork, and I see you have some character classes here, and all kinds of stuff. So very, very exciting. And yeah, get registered for that closed alpha for sure. Hillary, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This is, I can't wait. I can't even make words come out of my face. I'm so excited. Thank you again. We hope to see the game very soon. So once again, blog.solarcrusaders.com. Get yourself registered for that closed alpha. Hillary, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Big thanks again to Hillary of the Solar Crusaders team there. I saw that game, and I've been trying to get in touch with her for a while, and we just had like a scheduling conflict after scheduling conflict, mostly my fault, and finally we managed to knock that out. So hopefully that's a game that people are now interested in, because I've been sitting here drooling all over their website for weeks now.
Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to see see that come out. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Jemmy, you back?
Yeah. I was going to say, are you registered yourself?
Yes, I registered immediately. It's really cool. I wanted to touch more on the FTL during our phone call, FTL likeness to it, because if you're just listening to the audio podcast, and if you ever played Faster Than Light, FTL on Steam, it looks very close to that. It's that kind of style where you have a top-down view of the ship. You can see inside of it. Your crew members will go around and work on the ship. And, yeah, things like having different classes of characters, going and building a ship like that, and going out and pirating or teaming up with people, battling and participating in the economy. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to go MMO or not. I'm kind of curious to see what they do. I don't know if it'll lend itself well to that, or if you'll start to see more like Minecraft-like servers pop up where people just kind of make a big Solar Crusaders server and play on that.
Yeah, I think the whole MMO aspect is going to be pretty tough. I don't know. That takes a lot more work than just, allowing people to have servers. or even have their own servers where a limited amount of people will play on each server.
Yeah, indie MMOs. That's a pretty big investment in like a lot of different ways. But we'll see what happens.
And the turnaround time is going to be crazy on this.
Yeah, it looks if the development continues as it is, I mean, December release. That's amazing.
Yeah.
For a game that like just started 6 months ago.
And is like multiplayer MMO.
Yeah.
Like if it was just a single player, I'm like, yeah, okay, they have a lot of time to invest, whatever. That makes sense. But the back end for an MMO like support and had that kind of turnaround time, that is amazing, and they should be applauded. That is a lot of hard work.
Just so we know, they're not promising it's going to be an MMO or that December is the official release date, but I think that's a very realistic goal to strive for. At least if you're not going to go MMO, I just think for the game being completely finished and being a multiplayer game, I think December is awesome. I don't know about the MMO thing. I don't know. I wish I knew more about game development so I could like predict these things.
Well, it just gets tricky because you have the back end with the networking and stuff like that, and then you also have to kind of like put in place anti-cheat factors and syncing between machines and all sorts of stuff.
Big servers that are going to handle a lot, you know.
Oh yeah, you have to like, how are you going to handle all that traffic?
Yeah, that's what kind of scares me about it. But at the same time, what a great MMO that would make.
That would be interesting. That would be totally interesting.
I looked at Eve, and what I didn't like about Eve was it seemed to bombard you with like text, just a ton of stuff. It's very technical, very, very complex, and I wasn't into it. It was just a little too much for me. But this game seems like, again, more like FTL, very, very graphics intensive, you know, and I feel like if I'm playing Solar Crusaders, I'll feel like I'm playing an actual game, whereas EVE Online I wasn't a big fan. I didn't feel like it was a game. More or less it's more of like an economy simulator to me.
It kind of reminds me of Worm Online versus Life is Feudal. You know, it's kind of like that kind of thing where it's not EVE Online, but it's like Life is Feudal. It's a little bit different, got a little bit more easier to deal with than say EVE Online, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to say?
And EVE was one of their inspirations. And what I liked about EVE when I was reading about it, and what got me to try it, was the whole economy thing and going out and pirating and doing all those things. But when I actually like played a demo of it, I'm like, this isn't for me. This is too much. So
EVE is an acquired taste.
Yeah, for sure. So when she started talking about the games and comparing it FTL and EVE, I got really excited because I've wanted to see someone take like the EVE recipe but put it in a different type of game, and it seems like that's what they're doing. So look out for Solar Crusaders. I'm going to be linking the hell out of it, probably on my Twitter and YouTube channels as soon as I can. Definitely everythingnoob.com. We'll have that up for you, and you can check it out there as well on our show notes. And I'll be posting that interview separate from the podcast as well if you want to share it with your friends. And yeah, so I think that's about it. We talked about all the things tonight, you guys. We
oh my gosh, we got it all in.
Yeah, I know. We win the internet.
Wow, we got it all in.
I don't have the gold to pay for one internet though.
We won. We get to sell that now.
They're just giving those out now?
Yeah.
Oh, so I can get the gold, so I can pay for another internet.
You can, exactly.
Oh, okay.
You can have your very own.
It's awesome.
So
the internet of one.
Yes. Remember to check out everythingnoob.com for all of your Everything Noob needs. Also, if you're having trouble with the link to everythingnoob.com, you can keep trying, or you can use vortacvids.com for a little bit longer. We just got the domain switch, so there's going to be a little bit of a gap there while that takes. So thank you for your patience there. And yeah, get registered on our website. You can join us on the forums. We're trying to start doing things like get the community involved in like game nights and things like that. And it's going to be kind of a process getting that going. But once we do, I think it'll be a lot of fun. Just getting people involved and playing games with them, whether we stream it or not, just for fun. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the game. So we will see you next week, and we out.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Everything Noob Podcast. Hit up everythingnoob.com for our show notes, blogs, YouTube and Twitch channels, previous episodes, and even a t-shirt store. Please game responsibly, and we'll see you next week.